Good afternoon, Sue Smith sitting in for Aaron Rand, and we are going to take our. Are you still looking up at the skies and imagining all that missing matter? Now we want your feet planted firmly on the ground. We've been talking about this Gordie Howe Bridge. And we're going to talk about your confidence in Mark Carney. And I want you to get on the phone and let me know if your confidence has slipped in Mark Carney, because that's what polls are showing. Prime Minister Carney has announced 3 by-elections to be held at the end of August. One of them, the only one which is held by a Conservative, is in Quebec. We're going to talk about that. But first, back to this confidence. According to a new poll conducted by the Angus Reid Institute, Canadians' confidence in our Prime Minister is slipping. And it looks like Canadians overwhelmingly want our Prime Minister to get tougher with Donald Trump, but they do not agree on what that means, getting tougher. But one of the things is they want him to retaliate for all those tariffs that Trump keeps threatening. There's a lot of T's in that sentence. Raphaël Melançon joins me in studio. Raph is a political analyst for CJAD 800 and CTV Montreal and a columnist for the Montreal Gazette. Hello.
Good afternoon, Sue.
So we were just saying how crazy the politics are this summer. It's every day there's
keeping
something.
Us busy. I'm not complaining.
Yes. So I had a text before that said most of the, why am I concentrating on the Angus Reid poll? Most of the other polls show people are in favor of Carney. But what do you think about this latest poll? The point is it was taken last week.
So it's recent, and it was just taken just after Donald Trump came back with his new wave of tariffs. So it shows that people are not thinking that Carney can deliver an agreement with the U.S. So it shows that the wind has turned basically with those new tariffs. It sent a message to the Canadian population that Donald Trump is not something we can deal with at the moment because he's too unpredictable. Mm-hmm. He's too unreliable. Mm-hmm. But what I would have liked to see in that poll is a second question saying, do you think another leader could have done a better job, could do a better job? Because I don't think that's the case here. I think anyone who would be prime minister of this country at the moment would be struggling to deal with a president who's so unpredictable at the moment. So yes, less confidence in Mark Carney, but most of all, I think less confidence in the general idea of getting a deal with the U.S. on the short or midterm. And that is for a very, in my point of view, a very simple reason. The reason why Donald Trump came back with those new tariffs is not necessarily because Canada has done anything wrong at the moment. It's mainly because he needs to rally his base, and tariffs are extremely popular among the MAGA movement, as we know. And if you look at the polls in the U.S. right now, it's going nowhere for Donald Trump. His approval ratings are going down. He's under 40% according to most polls. The war in Iran has no end in sight. It's also going nowhere. It's a war he started himself. Gas prices are soaring. Inflation. So people in the U.S., a lot of people can no longer manage to pay for their groceries or their rent. Same thing as we are living on this side of the border. So the administration, the Trump administration at the moment is extremely unpopular, so he needs to find ways to deflect the media and the public's attention, because let's not forget, they have midterm elections coming up in November over there, and right now the polls are showing that the Republicans could be losing at least control of one of 2 houses of Congress, so that the House of Representatives could turn Democrat for the majority, and potentially, currently it's a toss-up for the Senate. So Donald Trump could lose control of Congress, and that would limit also his powers for the remainder of his term in the White House. Mm-hmm. So that's something he doesn't want to see happening, and that's why he's trying to poke the bear here. It's basically he's trying to get us to react and to come back with retaliatory measures. Mm-hmm. Very difficult word to pronounce for a Francophone, by the way. Yeah. Retaliatory measures.
Yes. Which our measures are already retaliations. So I take your point that he's trying to change the channel. I don't know. I mean, if his base is watching, certainly here on CNN, which I have in studio all the time, they never talk about tariffs. It's all the headlines in Canada. But I do think he's trying to deflect attention from the Iranian war. I have another theory, though, and I want to bounce this by you. I think that Carney and the Canadian team are making headway at the table and and that's annoying Donald Trump. And he is trying to negotiate in the media.
That could be a possibility. I'm not there. I'm not. I wish I could be a little bird and
Yes.
hear what's happening around that table of negotiations. It's really hard to tell at the moment because nothing is coming out, of course, and they're all keeping those secrets internally. As long as we don't have a deal that is signed, which is something that could happen or could not happen, we won't get really answers to those questions until then. But I think most of all, right now, it's a matter of public perception. It's a matter of speaking to his base, and it's a matter of trying to save face in view of those midterm elections where he could really, his party, it's not just about him, it's also about people within his party. Mm-hmm. Republican elected officials at the moment in Congress are worried about keeping their seat following those midterm elections. So he's getting a lot of pressure at the moment from his own party to do things to deflect the attention right now, to change the narrative around his administration, which is extremely negative, and which is also going against everything that he promised to his base when he was reelected almost 2 years ago. He promised to bring prices down. That's not happening. He promised no more wars. That's not happening, obviously. He launched himself a war. He's waging war on Iran at the moment. So all those things, it's really displeasing to people who are part of the MAGA movement, and the main risk for him is, yes, losing votes, but most of all, people staying home and not heading to the polls in November.
His base, yeah. Mm-hmm. Oh, and the other thing he's been doing is discrediting Americans' faith in the whole electoral process, of course, so he can say, it's been fixed. And
Absolutely. Already preparing the ground, so if ever he were to lose control of Congress, he could justify that, saying it's the system, it's a rigged election, as he did, remember, when he lost to Joe Biden. That is the same kind of speech we're hearing from him at the moment. So preparing the field here to eventually dismiss the results of the midterm elections. That would be a catastrophe for, of course, the American democracy.
Mm-hmm. All right, let's turn back to Canada. Yes, who else would do it? That's a good point. I mean, of course, the other person that was vying for the job was Poilievre, and Canadians overwhelmingly voted, or at least pretty substantially voted for Carney to do it. Let's talk about those by-elections, though, because, of course, now this slim majority, now he's got a majority, 3 by-elections, 2 are Liberals, 1 is a Conservative, that one is in Quebec.
It's it's currently held by the Conservatives, but it could be a toss-up right now. If you look at the projections, it really is a 3-way race in Chicoutimi-Le-Fjord, so with the departure of Richard Martel. Quite unusual, by the way, to see a sitting member of Parliament switch from the House of Commons to the Senate.
The Senate. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's quite unusual. And I'd be curious to know, was it Martel who in the first place raised his hand and reached out to the Prime Minister's office saying, I'd like to be appointed to the Senate, or is it the other way around? Because if Martel did the first move, then that means it's probably a way for him to get out of the Conservative caucus and the leadership of Pierre Poilievre without the same time
crossing the floor.
Yeah, exactly. Mm-hmm. As others have done recently, as we know.
Interesting.
If it's the other way around, if the Liberals reached out to Martel first and foremost, then what is it? Is it a strategy to get one more seat? Because it's a seat that they could eventually gain in this by-election.
Could they? So what's it looking like? You say a 3-way race.
It's a toss-up currently, so it's hard to tell, but anything could happen at the moment. It's going to be played between the Bloc Québécois, the Conservatives, which have still solid ground in this region and a strong organizational base, and the Liberals, which are extremely popular in the province. Mark Carney is still very popular across Quebec. So it's going to be interesting to follow. And if you look at the other ones, the other ones are 2 seats that are pretty safe right now for the Liberals. There's one in Toronto, in the Greater Toronto area, and there's one in Vancouver. So these should remain Liberal, but the other one could be a Liberal gain. The other one, let's not forget, there's also a Bloc Québécois MP who recently resigned to run with the PQ in Saint-Hyacinthe-Bagotte-Acton. And for some reason, Mark Carney chose not to call it a by-election, not at the same time. He resigned before Martel announced he was going to switch to the Senate. But despite all that, there's no by-election happening there at the same time. So why? Major question mark here. Why is it not happening at the same time?
What would you guess?
Well, yet again, if you look at the projections, it's going to remain a Bloc Québécois safe seat for the Bloc Québécois. So probably what Carney wants to do is to have as much good news as possible with when they get back to the House of Commons in September. So they want to have a win in Chicoutimi-Lafière where they could potentially win. It's a long shot, but still they could win. Whereas in Saint-Hyacinthe-Bagotte, there's no chance in hell that they're going to win this. So they probably want to have some wins there to show and to have a positive narrative around the Prime Minister when they get back to the House of Commons.
So if I can go back full circle to what we're talking about, confidence. So by-election was called, I think, over the weekend on his X page or something, Prime Minister Carney, maybe it was this morning. That's going to go at the end of August. I know a month is an eternity in politics, but this whole poll showing that confidence is slipping in his leadership and his ability to get a deal could obviously affect the results of the by-election. It could,
and the response as well will have a direct impact also on the way people see him. So this poll you're mentioning also tells us that 62% of Canadians would like to see the Prime Minister come back with strong retaliatory measures.
Tariff for tariff.
The majority says dollar for dollar. Some of them say a limited counter tariffs would be sufficient, but still more than 6 in 10 Canadians want to see the Prime Minister retaliate. And to this, I say, hang on a second. At first, I was of the same opinion, to be honest with you, when I heard Doug Ford last week say, let's hit them hard.
Yeah, stop rolling over.
I mean, as a patriot, as someone who's a proud Canadian, I was at first in agreement with that. But then if you think about it, the more you push back, the more you retaliate, the more you give Donald Trump ammunition.
Talk about poking the bear.
Exactly. We would be playing his game, basically. And that's what he wants. That's what he needs at the moment. He needs to have the bad guys to be able to portray us as the bad guys to rally his base against Canada. So if we do that, I mean, we're dealing with a bully here. And what's the best thing you can do with a bully in the schoolyard?
Walk away.
Ignore him. Ignore him. Do not give him any ammunition that he could use against you afterwards. So I would say here, if we want to de-escalate or at least avoid escalation, right now the best thing to do is maybe, who knows, to just ignore him.
Just ignore him. Okay.
But politically speaking, it's very difficult. I understand.
No kidding. Very when everybody's clamoring and the polls are going, okay, so Raphaël Melançon says, just ignore him. I want to know what you think. 514-790-0800. Is your confidence in Mark Carney slipping? How do you think he should react to the threats from south of the border? 514-790-0800. We'll have this conversation coming back. Raphaël Melançon, merci.
Merci beaucoup. À la prochaine.
You've heard the chaos. Now you can see it. Oh my God. Watch all your favorite podcasts from start to finish right inside the free iHeartRadio app.
Gets the blood going, huh?
Catch every laugh and eye roll on shows like the Tom Green Farmcast and Park the Bus. Now with full video.
We're building a ramp for Tony Hawk.
It's the same hosts and the same chemistry with all the hilarious moments you've been missing right on your screen.
Cheers.
Open the free iHeartRadio app, search video podcasts, and tap watch.